Hello and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Ghosts. I am your host Sunray, and today I'm going to be doing part 2 of the Hatman stories, so let's get into it. If you have any Hatman stories of your own, make sure to submit them to me at my email, or you can find me on Facebook or Instagram. Make sure to like and subscribe to follow along. And here is the first story. I think all 3 of these stories are from Reddit. So this one is really hard to figure out, but Callie Rod Kunder from Reddit says, I saw him when I was 15 at the end of my bed. I drew him for a while afterwards. I wish I still had my drawings. The house had a ton of activity. I didn't really talk to many about it, and I didn't know others saw him as well until I found this sub. He just stared at me from the end of the bed. I didn't get a weird feeling of fear. He just seemed curious, and there was no negative energy felt like with some of the other encounters I had in that house. It was the one time I saw a figure and the feeling was of curiosity from both of us instead of maliciousness I felt out of the other entities in the house that I experienced. I'd really love to hear some more of your ghost stories. If you've ever shared those anywhere, I would definitely love to listen. That's the kind of weird thing about the Hatman that I hear from some people, which does lead me to believe that it's genetic and that it goes to like lineages and stuff, because for some weird reason when I encountered the Hatman, I mean, I was scared, but I hear a lot of people take comfort in the Hatman versus being afraid, and then some other people it's just absolute terror. It's very interesting. This next one is from Alicia Darling, also Reddit. I was a teenager, maybe 16 or 17 when I saw him. I was in my dream and I remember not being able to see his face, but I knew what his facial expressions should be. He asked me strange questions like a person would if they wanted to figure out how to mimic you or be you. I remember getting creeped out, but I felt compelled to answer. When I woke up, I couldn't move. My eyes looked over to the bedroom door, and he tipped his hat to say goodbye, with what should have been a playful smile on his face. After he left, I could move. Never saw him again. That is wild. Like, what's the point in trying to mimic you or be you or anything like that if, like, he never shows himself to you again? Maybe it wasn't the Hatman. Maybe it was something else mimicking the Hatman. What do you guys think? Hey y'all, just wanted to take a quick break from the episode to show you guys some of my merch. I got some shirts, and you can get this design on anything you want. This one says, I trust the dead more than I trust the living, so go get you some. I also have these cute little bags. This one I use for my charging cords, my headphones, and stuff like that, so go check it out. There's so much more merch there available. You'll enjoy it. Now back to the episode. So this is that really long story I told you guys about, and it is from Crispy Skin Chicken. Love these Reddit names always. I've seen Hatman hundreds of times. I'm not sure exactly when I started seeing them, but I do know from the ages 14 through 24 I would see them on average once a night. I would wake up in the middle of the night and see Hatmen or shadow people staring at me. I've had sleep paralysis a handful of times before, usually if I've had a daytime nap, so I know what that feels like. I didn't have sleep paralysis when I would wake up and see the Hatman. I was not paralyzed. I could move and talk fine, and I am certain I was not dreaming. So these things I saw, they were always just a pitch black humanoid figure, and although they had no facial features, I knew they were staring at me. Most of the time wore a fedora type hat, but I also saw a lot that didn't wear a hat. The ones that visited me ranged between 5 feet and 10 feet tall. Every one of them made me feel dread and terror. but the taller they were, the more profound this was. The ones with no hat didn't seem as bad as the hatted ones. They usually just stood still in the doorway, at the side of my bed, or at the end of my bed. Whenever I would see them, I would jump upright in bed and scream at the top of my lungs. This was just a natural reaction. I usually saw them for about 20 seconds before I made it to a light source. Turning on lights got rid of them visually, but I still felt off afterwards. I'd occasionally see glimpses of them peeking at me around corners in daylight hours. Occasionally, but nothing sustained like what I would see at night. I also lived in 4 different homes and stayed at heaps of friends' and boyfriends' homes over the course of these 10 years, and they followed me everywhere. It's quite embarrassing trying to explain this to friends and boyfriends at 18 years old. At some point in my early 20s, things started to get worse. I not only saw the Hatmen more often, but I also think they were messing with me, especially when I was home alone. The TV and lights would inexplicably turn off and on, objects would disappear and reappear in weird places, and I would hear loud crashes and banging noises, and of course there was nothing there. I was sitting watching TV one night, and a large glass window in the living room spontaneously exploded. I'm talking a 1.5 by 1.5 window shattering into the living room in the middle of the night right in front of me. No birds, animals, or kids with rocks. The worst experience I had with the Hatman was the one and only time I moved. I was not sleeping well and at my wits' end. In the last few months I saw it, I would get really pissed off and I would yell and swear at it to leave me alone, and I'd also swing at it. Normally it just stood there for a bit and then leave or disappear when I got the lights on. But this time, instead of standing still, it lunged towards me. It was seething with hatred, and I absolutely think this Hatman was evil. It was the first and only time I had seen its arms and hands. He was super lanky, and his arms and fingers were abnormally long. As he lunged, but also floated, if that makes sense, towards me, he went for my throat with his lanky fingers. I stopped yelling and kicking as I was in so much shock that it was actually moving, as it had always been a silent observer. As it got to my neck, my husband turned on the light. He sort of just swirled out of the humanoid figure and passed through the wall. I want to add I have seen different figures once before in the middle of the night. This was short, white, misty figure, and I was not afraid at all, not disturbed, that it was just chilling there when I looked up from my phone. There was no bad energy or feeling of doom. I was just confused about what it was doing there. It was not the same thing as the Hatman, not even close. So after a decade of sleepless nights from various Hatmen, I was desperate to get rid of them. I tried asking nicely, tried talking to it like a person, tried explaining it was hurting me. I tried yelling, I tried ignoring it, nothing. I ended up confiding in a friend, and it turns out she had seen similar things to me. She told her sister, who was a witch. The sister did 2 tarot card readings for me, and both times got the same message. I don't remember exactly what, but basically she said I had an evil spirit attached to me, and she gave my friend some crystals to give me. To be honest, I scoffed at the time, and if anyone asks me in real life now, I would still scoff. But truth is, I've never seen it again after I was given those crystals. It's been about 5 years now, and also I've had no other weird shit, disappearing objects, phantom noises, etc. happen to me in that time either. It's like all of a sudden, everything just stopped. I know how irrational it sounds, and I like to tell myself I don't believe in spirits, and I certainly do not believe in crystals being able to ward them off. I know rationally that it's more likely that I imagined the entire thing, that it was some sleep disorder or stress in my life causing hallucinations. All I know is, to me, it was real, and as everything else I could see in the world day to day. And it was awful. At the end of the day, I'm just glad that the Hatman doesn't visit me anymore. That is very crazy, and it sounds like you're a little sensitive to the spiritual realm, and that's why you see them. And like, I think shadow figures and the Hatman are different, but I do think you were still experiencing the Hatman. It's really cool that you saw the white spirit, because you got to know what like non-harmful spirits feel like versus ones that mean more ill intent or want to feed off of your fear. And I kind of think that the white spirit that you saw may have been like your spirit guides or your protectors on the other side, letting you know that they're there. I definitely love the tarot reading and the crystals that you got. I'm very big into that kind of stuff and believe that crystals definitely do help, and I love that for you. So I actually think I'm going to read one more story because I didn't realize that this would be so short. So this one is Middle Clean on Reddit. It was 1984 and I was asleep in my room. The room I slept in was a pretty well lit room with 2 windows. So at night I was always able to see when I needed to use the restroom. One night I woke up and there was 2 big black hands over my face. Once I noticed it, the hand stopped coming towards my face and slowly went back to his sides. He was wearing a fedora or top hat with a shadow outline of a trench coat. He was tall, 7 feet, maybe taller. My room was dark gray, but his shadow was the blackest I'd ever seen. After he noticed I'd seen him, he walked back to my door into my hallway, walked from my hallway to my living room to my kitchen, through my kitchen wall, and I never seen him again. I'm 42 years old now, and I'll never forget that experience. I would not sleep alone for a very long time after that. I was 4 at the time. This was crazy. What is crazy is I'm not the only one seeing this dude, and this was in 1984. It reminds me of like the time that I saw the Banshee. And it is really crazy, you know, and this is why I love having this podcast and ghost forums and places that you can share your experiences, because it makes you not feel so alone, and we start to be able to connect the dots, you know, like there are this very specific kind of entities. It's not always just your loved one or a human, somebody who had a human life. You know, sometimes these are more ancient spirits, more, you know, things that are universal a little bit. So it is very crazy to realize that you're not the only one that sees this stuff. So I do think I'm going to wrap it up for today, and I will go and do a part 3 next time. So tell me if you enjoyed this episode. Make sure to like and subscribe, and keep it creepy. Till next time. Bye.
This big masked figure. They had horns. This is where my body levitated.
I saw this chick literally go through the car as we drive through, like spiritually.
That man sitting on the bed the night before.
The blue light flashed in front of our eyes.
Take a walk with me to the dark side, where the spirits are archived on the far side. Shadows with dark eyes and creatures that tell lies.
And there was a rocking chair, and it would rock by itself.
It's got some funky shit going on in it.
Very scary. It felt like someone was watching us the entire time we were walking. I hear this low pitch.